What's going on? It's Roy Cannaday, and this is my live Q&A. So make sure to ask some questions down in the comments below, and I'll be looking at those different questions and answering some of those for you. We'll have a conversation back and forth, and it'll be lots of fun. If you don't know, I am a full-time editor here at the Dice Tower. I edit all of Tom's reviews. We try to do like 12 a week. I also have a bunch of different segments like Favorite Game Friday and a podcast called Spaces Between here on the channel, and I'm part of the new Dice Tower reroll. So yeah, there's all sorts of different things I do here around the Dice Tower, so feel free to ask all sorts of questions either in the comments or in the live chat, and I'd love to answer them for you. Cool. Awesome. So Vincent Frog said, play anything this weekend. So actually, I spent a little time, I was trying to find some more of the Marvel Champions game. I reviewed some of it on the channel, but I didn't have copies of it of my own to play because that went into the Dice Tower library. So I'm like, I need to find some of this stuff. And somebody actually tipped me off, Brant from the Portal Games podcast, tipped me off that Barnes & Noble might have them. So I searched on their website and found the Miss Marvel pack was at a store. And I was like, oh, cool, I need to go to Barnes & Noble. When do they close? Oh, in 1 minute. Cool. So I had to wait until Saturday, and then me and my family went to a local Barnes & Noble, picked that up, and then I played Miss Marvel twice solo. The first time we played, the first time I was playing it, I basically just lost before anything really happened because I wasn't paying attention to the threat at all. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm building up her stuff. Miss Marvel is very much about building up all of your things. So I built up all the stuff. I was just playing against Rhino just to remember how her deck worked again. And then like a 3 boost came up that boosted the threat a whole bunch, and it got to 7. And I'm like, so it's at 7. So I guess that means I lose. So. And then I replayed real quick and then beat Rhino without taking any damage, paying a lot closer attention to the threat, which was kind of funny. So I played that twice. I also played Marvel Champions with Mike DeLisio because he wanted to play it because maybe that might be for an upcoming video soon, so he wanted to play it again. So we played with Miss Marvel and with I played Black Panther, so that was interesting. It's kind of hard to play the game with 2 characters that have to kind of build up their stuff before they really get going. We just barely won, but it was a very grueling game because we kept having to keep the threat down, and then it was just so much stuff coming out all the time. And we played against the Claw or whatever. But then I played Everdell as well, and that was pretty fun also. Awesome. Let me turn my volume up a little bit for you guys. Let me know if that's good now. I can turn it up a little bit more too. Let's see what we have here for questions. Awesome. Hi, good morning. Let's see. I guess I can talk about this a teeny bit. I saw on Twitter you have a game design in the work and working on another. What process do you use for designing your games? Well, I don't actually have any published games yet. I hopefully have a signed game soon, so we'll see. And hopefully maybe people will hear about that in the future. But yeah, for me, it's kind of interesting because I do a whole lot of thinking about what I want in the game because I feel like I love where I'm at, and I love my job, and I love that stuff, and there's so many board games out there. I don't need to just pump out random weird games to like make a living. If I'm gonna make something, I want something that's gonna be completely different and really what I want to see, like a game that doesn't exist out there currently and would actually be like awesome and epic. So I actually had designed something before I started working here, and that's actually doing really well. So maybe we'll hear more about that, but I don't want to talk about it too much yet. But yeah, the process is really just me thinking about the game a whole lot, and then making sure I kind of know exactly where I want the game to be, and then prototyping it out. And of course, you have to prototype it out, then you have to play test it a ton. And once you play test it a ton, you make changes to that prototype, you tweak things and make that better. And then once you've got the game 100% where you know where it wants to be, and then you've had other people play it without a whole lot of involvement and all that sort of stuff, you can show it to publishers and pitch the game. And after you pitch the game, then hopefully you find a publisher that wants to pick it up. And after a publisher wants to pick it up, then they have to go do the art and graphic design and all of that stuff, and a little bit more development on the game, and then from there they either go to Kickstarter or straight up publish it, and there's a whole lot of things involved in game design, and normally it's like a 2-year process from when basically the publisher picks it up, and normally it's like a 2-year process before that. So a lot of these games that you're seeing come out have been in the pipeline for a long time, and like when a game comes out, a designer is just like, oh yeah, that's like a million games ago, you know? So it's really interesting that they have to, like, when the game comes out, they have to switch back on the marketing for that specific game, kind of be in the mindset when they were trying to pitch the game to the publisher in the first place. But yeah, it's definitely super interesting. But yeah, maybe I'll talk about that stuff more someday. Let's see, what else do we have here? Hi, Kabuki Kid. Let's see here. What was the most epic game that you played, and what was the largest game that you played? Lastly, were they the same game? Honestly, I feel like Twilight Imperium 3 was probably the, like, because Twilight Imperium 3 is a little bit bigger and a little bit more epic than 4, just because there was more stuff in it and there were more expansions, and it's had the same amount of aliens, so I don't know that I'm really worried that 4 is never going to get as much stuff in it. But I've played some giant epic games of Twilight Imperium, and normally games of Twilight Imperium last a long time, but I've had really awesome, like, giant 6-player games of Twilight Imperium where I'm like, we're blocking off the whole day, everybody's coming over. I normally try to play Twilight Imperium once a year at least during my birthday time. I'm like, all right, this is the day that it's going to be, and we're going to do it. But man, I've actually had multiple really giant epic games of that game, and I really enjoy the 4X genre. I really enjoy the politics and all the crazy stuff that goes on the game, and the backstabbing and negotiations and working together. I think 4 is far superior because it is more streamlined and a lot of things are easier. But I really wish there was just a little bit more for 4 added in to bring a couple of the cool things back from 3. But I don't know that that's ever going to happen at this point. But I really enjoy the game. But yeah, Twilight Imperium 4 and Twilight Imperium 3. Twilight Imperium is just a giant game, and it's awesome. Let me make sure that the audio is okay now. I think so. Okay, let's see here. Oh my goodness, I gotta go way back up. Let's see. We game together saying that my hair is shorter. I actually cut it myself, so hopefully it doesn't look too terrible, but there is that. Oh man, what's your favorite game to go to, I guess, for painting minis? What game have I painted the most of? I have a bunch of games that I've painted, but I rarely actually finish painting the game. But there's all sorts of different ones that I've really enjoyed. Of course, the Games Workshop stuff, the miniature like sculpts are just so much better than majority of the other stuff. I really enjoyed painting up like a Necron army, and I've got a lot of the Lord of the Rings miniatures that I paint up as well. I think probably painting up like the Blood Rage monsters has been one of my favorite things to paint, just because I really enjoy those as well. And I also painted a bunch of the dragons from Rising Sun, and I just really enjoyed the sculpts on those, and they're really fun and exciting to paint up and make them look all weird and different. But yeah, I like painting and I really enjoy it. I'm just not super fast at it, and I try to take my time, and I don't have a whole lot of time to do painting, but I do enjoy it when I do get to do it. Let's see. Where's the next question? I'm getting the vibe that you're a metalcore dude, 2000s era. Who are you listening to these days? I don't know that I'd say I'm metalcore. I played in like a mathcore, hardcore band for a little bit, but I really enjoy like pop punk stuff more. I played a show with Advent in my old band, and I really enjoyed like a lot of like the hardcore stuff. But strangely, as I'm getting older, I don't necessarily want to listen to lots of thrash and screaming music as much, but I really enjoy it still. Like I was listening to Emery yesterday, and I'm like, man, I remember like being in that pit and it just being like ridiculous and crazy when like the big breakdown hit, and it's like, man, I kind of miss going to those shows, but at this point I'm like, I'm too old to do anything crazy like that. But yeah, now I mostly listen to like pop punk and stuff like that, like the Wonder Years, and still go back and listen to Blink 182 and MXPX and all of that stuff. So yeah, mostly a punk rock music genre. Oh my goodness. Will you be reviewing Dune for the Dice Tower? Okay, so I really wanted to play Dune on the cruise, because I mean, I've played the old Dune a ton of times. I really wanted to play Dune on the cruise, and then I wasn't able to just because schedules. I mean, it's a bigger game. It was hard for me to get to play a whole lot and schedule that stuff out, just because it was so chaotic, and I have to run a show, and I got to be here, and I got to go there, and I got to run the library, and it's all mixing up all the time. And now we're ashore, so I need to go on and do this excursion with everybody, which is not bad. It was all amazing. But getting down to play Dune, I didn't actually get to do it. So I was going to take the copy of Dune from the library and bring it here, so that way I could play it, and then that way be able to do a review of it. I haven't actually played it yet. I was like, I need to get a day in where I can play this game. Well, I forgot to actually take it out of the library, so now it's basically on the truck going to Las Vegas. So hey, at Dice Tower West, I'd love to play Dune so I could make some content about it, because I really enjoy Dune, the old game, and really enjoy Rex, so I really want to see how the new game's different, and what they've changed. I know they have like an easy mode and an advanced mode. The advanced mode didn't seem like it was too crazy to me. So I've read the rules a little bit for the new version, and I'm excited to jump into it, and I'd really love to hit it up at Dice Tower West. So hey, maybe I can review it after that. I can't review a game I haven't played. That is definitely true. To be fair, there's an extremely small number of people who can actually make a living off of just designing games. I keep telling like even my friends like Emerson and stuff like that, it's like, man, like there's people that are doing amazing in game design that they still have to like, they do a lot to pay their own way to get to these conventions and have to work really hard to like put out a ton of games to just be able to do game design full time. And it's like a constant grind. And I don't necessarily envy that at all. But I think it would be cool to have a game come out. But the position that I'm at here is a lot more interesting to me than trying to do any sort of game design full time at all. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it won't. We'll see. Favorite Marvel Champions hero and villain. My favorite hero, I think currently, is Captain Marvel, just because she's able to draw a whole bunch of cards and she can do a massive amount of damage. And I'm really excited to try to like rebuild her deck with some of the other cards that I've gotten from the expansion and try to like min-max that to the max. I think that'd be really fun. Some of the cards from the Miss Marvel pack will be really good in Captain Marvel, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how well I can make that work. But I like the card draw and the massive amount of damage output she has with the aggression faction or whatever. And as far as villains go, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. I haven't played the Wrecking Crew stuff yet. But yeah, I just like playing through different ones. I don't like to play any one over and over again. I like to, every time I play, I like to play a different villain. So who knows? I don't even know what this is referring to. Wow, Roy summarized in 3 minutes what some people take whole books to describe. Cool. Maybe that was the game design thing. We'll see. Oh no. Is it just me or does the feed seem out of sync? Hopefully things sound okay. Are you pumped about the Weezer Green Day Fall Out Boy tour? I doubt that I'll actually be able to go to such a thing. Maybe they'll come to Miami. I used to like Fall Out Boy a little bit. Green Day is fine. I like MXPX better. And Weezer's really cool. But yeah, I probably won't be going to any shows just because I'm so busy and I have kids. That makes it really difficult to get to shows. But definitely good bands. What is your favorite faction in Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea? I think I always said the Lionkin were my favorite, and I really enjoy them, but it's like a tie in between the Lionkin and the Lizard Folk. They both have the really cool thing of when they get upgraded that with the Lionkin, the deserts become where you can gain resources from them. And the lizards have where the swamps can gain resources from them and make spells cheaper. I had a really good game with the lizards on the cruise, so I'm just like, they're really good. I think I'm still going to edge it out to the Lionkin just because they have the whole like teleporting from desert to desert, and I had an amazing game with them once where I had like control of every desert on the board at the end of the game, and they're kind of like the Euro-y factions almost, because it's all about like resource management and getting extra resources. But they have really good heroes as well too. So I'm going to go with the Lions, but Lizards are a close second. Have you ever played Space Empires 4X? No, I have not. That's one I'm actually really interested in. I mean, of course, it's very much like chits on a grid and stuff like that, as opposed to like a fancy looking production. I guess it's GMT, right? I have been interested in that game, and I'm interested in how they do like the space exploration and stuff like that. But it's never been one that I've wanted to actually purchase myself, mostly because the way it looks. It's so hard to get these big epic games to the table, and them looking awesome definitely helps. And if you put a game out there that's just a whole bunch of chits on a board, it might be harder to get friends to come over and play. But who knows? I mean, I'm sure it's a good game, and I would personally like to be interested in learning how it works. What makes you love Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea? I really enjoy quick, fast-playing 4X game. I love the interaction in between the players, the fact that you're always following other people's action, the whole like little bits of if I tax, I'm gonna tax, and you recruit next turn. Let's do that. Like, I don't know. I like working that stuff out, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, you need a swamp? I'll make way for you to come in here and get a swamp if I can go over into your area and build a tower. I like doing the negotiation type stuff in the game, which is really weird off the wall. But then the whole combat system of like trying to outthink your opponent with these combat cards. It's like, if they play this card and I play this card, I'll win. But if they played that card, which card are they most likely to play? They have these resources, so I can kind of guess. But that's not necessarily true, because if they exhaust one of their characters, then they'll have extra resources of this type. It's just the whole mind games in it. And I just feel like the whole package is really nicely put together when you play it. I enjoy the exploration tokens as you're running out there. I just enjoy a lot about the game. But yeah, so awesome 4X game. Let's see. Hi Roy, previous careers in education before gaming at the Dice Tower. So I worked in retail at Target for 10 years. I actually started, my first job was at Kroger's. I started as a bagger and then got promoted to a cashier. Woo! Then I worked at Walden Books for a while. And so that was cool. When I was at Walden Books, I helped run like HeroClix tournaments and stuff. That was when HeroClix were at Walden Books, and we had like a little store, and we would set a table off to the side, and we'd run like HeroClix events inside of a bookstore, which was pretty cool back in the day. And that was fun to compete and play in those and help judge those a little bit and set up the organized play for that at a bookstore in a mall. So that was fun. And then I worked at Target. I actually worked in a factory that made soap for a little while before working at Target. I worked like the production line and putting the boxes together and putting the bottles on the line and stacking the boxes onto the pallets and stuff like that, and they would distribute them to Target or Lowe's Foods or several different places. It was mostly like detergents and things like that. So that was a weird, interesting, fast-paced job. But then I started working at Target retail, and I was there for 10 years. And I started in the back room and did like all the inventory system back there, and we would always have to pull stuff out to take to the floor. And I always used to get upset when the board game section of Target looked bad. And back then, they didn't have nearly as many cool games on the shelf, but they did have Heroescape, so that was kind of cool. But then I got promoted to signing team, and then from signing I went to facilities management, which meant I was over the facilities as a whole, and I was in charge of vendors that would come in, and I did that for probably 6 or 7 years. I was over facilities management, so I was in charge of making sure everything was working good. If the air conditioning went out, I would either fix it myself or get somebody to come in and fix it. Like we'd replace belts and stuff like that, or like this toilet's clogged, we'd fix that. This light bulb's out, we'd fix that. Or this whole like soda machine's down, we'd call someone in, and we'd be in charge of making sure that the vendors that come in do their job and make sure to document all of that sort of stuff. And then I worked at a factory that did distribution for food from Mexico for a little while right before I came to work here. And I was kind of doing that as like I would watch the kids during the day, and then at night I would go and do that job. But it was pretty intense, and I actually got promoted there to where I was running like the logistics for like the trucking companies and stuff for that company as well. But yeah, lots of different jobs, not necessarily as many of them about board game editing or design or anything crazy like that. Most of that stuff was self-taught by doing board game media myself, and anytime that I wasn't at work, I was very passionate about making time to record my own media and learn how to edit. There's so many amazing YouTube videos out there, and so many things about how to use all of the different programs like Final Cut and Premiere Pro and After Effects, and you can find out all sorts of interesting videos on YouTube, and most of that stuff's just self-taught. but yeah, good stuff. How do you organize your game nights? Are you the host or invited to one? Is it regular or spontaneous? It's definitely super spontaneous. We actually have a Saturday game day that happens here. That's the Dice Tower thing, and it happens at Cool Stuff. So the last Saturday of each month is like the Dice Tower meetup day. Also Tuesday nights, there's always games for board games at Cool Stuff as well. So I have done a few game nights, but down here in Homestead, there's not a whole lot of other board gamers. Most of them are up in Miami. So down here, it's mostly the actual Dice Tower crew. But normally when I've done game nights, I've invited people myself. I like to host those sort of things and kind of like prepare people on which game we're gonna play. I've always really enjoyed like having the game set up and ready and have people come and then partake in the game. That's always interesting. But I had like people come over and play Mansions of Madness. I've had friends come over and we've played other random games, and Mike just came over the other day and I had Marvel Champions all set up, and we played Marvel Champions, and we played Everdale. So we played one of my games, and then he brought out a game and we played that. But I haven't had as many of those just because our schedule's so crazy going to this convention, that convention, and stuff like that will probably happen more in this little area coming up after Dice Tower West, because there'll be a little bit less conventions for us. So maybe there'll be a game night happening here and there. Who knows? Which games do you play with your family? So we have a bunch of different games that we really enjoy. One game that the kids have really been loving is Concept Kids. I think this is a great game to play with like younger kids, and the fact that kids can jump in and jump out. It's all about guessing animals. So you have an animal and you're trying to put out all these little tokens to say, is it these colors, or where does it live in the world? Is it like live in the jungle? Is it like a carnivore, or does it eat like leaves and stuff? It's very interesting the way that game works, and the kids have really enjoyed that. We also play a lot of the different Haba games. They've enjoyed that also. We've done a bunch of different random stuff. We actually played, what is it? Little Town, I think was the name of it. And that's kind of like a worker placement game where you're gathering resources. And the kids actually really enjoyed that. So that's kind of a little bit more advanced game than normally they would play. But they really enjoyed the fact of gathering the resources and then building a town. They just aren't 100% keen on how to turn that into gathering a whole lot of victory points currently. So we'll see. I mean, as they get slightly older, they'll be interested in different stuff, and I'm interested to see what they're going to be excited to play. My wife really likes party games like Dixit and Just One, and we played, what was the last one we played? Chronicles of Crime we played on the cruise, and she enjoyed that one a lot. And I'm actually looking at getting a copy of Chronicles of Crime so we can play it more and play it with other family members as well. Just because those games that don't have a whole lot of instructions and are easy to get into are just, I mean, when you don't have to spend a whole lot of time like setting up and describing all the intricate rules of a game, it's really easy to get all sorts of different people into it. I really enjoyed your D&D 5th edition live campaign. Do you think you'll ever do another role-playing game live, maybe a short one? I would love to do that. The main thing is a lot of time. I would probably end up having to do another one online because I don't know if I have people currently. But when I ran it, there's a lot of mental space that has to be ran to run a D&D campaign. Like, you almost have to like world build and kind of design this whole thing. I mean, you can play through pre-built campaigns and things like that, and that lessens that load a lot. That's boring. Like, I like to go hard and like come up with a concept and a world and a hook and all this different stuff and put all that stuff together when I'm DMing. And I mean, I enjoy playing a game too. It would just be the time commitment that it takes currently. I mean, I'm running a podcast. I'm also working on a lot of things behind the scenes as far as like design stuff and things like that. I'm trying to do all the dice tower stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into all these different conventions that we're running around to, so that makes my schedule a little bit more sporadic. So it's a little bit hard to make that stuff happen. And then it's very important to put all that stuff aside and realize that I need to spend a lot of time making sure to strengthen my relationships with my friends and family and spending time with my wife and kids. So I would love to do more D&D campaigns, but they're a big commitment. I don't necessarily have a whole lot of time to do that sort of thing right now. But yeah, I love playing D&D, and D&D is awesome. Okay, let me turn the volume up a little bit more. Let's see if that helps. Check, check, check. Awesome. Mark Street says, Roy! What's up, Mark Street? Did the Dice Tower cruise feel more like a vacation or non-stop work? It was a little bit of both. I mean, the work wasn't too bad. I mean, once we got everything on the ship, we had to get everything sort of in place. So it's very much like, okay, get everything ready for people to come in, put the t-shirts in the right place for all the people coming in, make sure the badge is in the right place. All right, go down to the library, make sure the library is all set up, make sure the computers are all set up. Once that's done, it's a lot more chill. There's a lot of fun time to run around and have amazing dinners and hang out and talk to a ton of people. But then it's like, okay, there's a live show. Gotta make sure. I think for me, maybe it's a little bit worse because I'm working to do a whole bunch of different stuff, but then also like I want to be there ahead of time to make sure I'm working with the cruise team to make sure I have HDMI inputs and make sure everything's plugged up and make sure the PowerPoint and sound is working and make sure if there's any videos we need to play up on a projector, all that stuff's working fine. So that requires me to be there like before to set everything up, and then the live show happens and hopefully it goes off without a hitch and is amazing, and then afterwards to tear everything down as far as like getting the computer unplugged and getting all of our cords back and getting everything ready, and then maybe talking about the next thing we're going to do where, okay, we're going to be here or there, we're going to do this in that theater and that theater. But it's always awesome to see the crowds come out and those things be super exciting, especially when those things go off like without a hitch. That's a blast and that's a ton of fun. but I feel like it's also a vacation too, because we did the port days where we go out and we get to walk around these different exotic locations. I got to swim with some stingrays, which was kind of fun, and we did that with a whole bunch of groups of other Dice Tower fans, which is always cool to talk to these people and hang out. And the food is amazing, and sometimes I get to sit down and actually play a game, which was really fun too. And then a lot of it is like, okay, work on the library, work on this thing, work on that thing, but it's still worth it because we get to try to put on a great convention and a great show for everybody, and hopefully it's more about you guys enjoying it and having a blast, and us getting to actually talk to you guys and hopefully play a couple games with you guys as well. So I feel like it's a little bit of both. It's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of awesome. Cool. Dun, 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 dun. Everybody's talking about all the bands. Have you seen anything on the upcoming CMON Kickstarter Marvel United? And if so, any initial thoughts from what little has been released? So I saw it and I was like, Cooperative game from Eric Lang. I was super stoked. I'm like, I gotta save my money. Like I'm probably gonna back this thing. It looks like it's gonna be awesome. Just because I was excited. I don't have any of their other like chibi-ish games like Arcadia Quest or anything like that, but I was really excited. And then I saw pictures of what the game looks like, and it looks like it's a lot more like card driven, where you're moving from card location to card location. And it's a little bit more extracted than I thought it was going to be. I thought you were going to be running around a city actually duking it out with multitudes of minions and bad guys. And it looks more like it's going to be a cooperative game where you're min-maxing threats from bad guys around the board. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to play, but I was slightly less excited after seeing the way that it actually is, where you're not actually going to be running around a board, and the miniatures are going to be more like people that are going from these different card locations. I'm like still interested to check it out. I'm still interested to see more about the game, and I love the Marvel theme. The Chibis thing is neither here nor there. It would be cool to paint some of those up, but I mean, it doesn't like make me want to play it more or make me want to play it less. It's just like, oh, they're Chibis. That's interesting. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to end up backing it currently, just because it'll probably be a lot, but we'll see what they end up coming out with, and maybe it'll be amazing. If I watch a playthrough video, it might change my mind. Do you like old school dudes on a map games, stuff like Axis and Allies Anniversary Edition? So I've never actually played Axis and Allies. I liked Risk enough. I mean, but I feel like I would like Axis and Allies more than I like Risk, especially if it has like the whole resource management aspect of it, because I know people have told me that Axis and Allies has that, but I have no draw to go back and play things like that because I don't necessarily like the historical war type stuff. It's not necessarily as big of a theme for me. I really enjoy more things like I don't know, like the Game of Thrones board game or something like that, where it's dudes on a map, but then it's in a fantasy setting. But you're not necessarily, I guess you are having to utilize resources a little bit to build those characters up and things like that. But, you know, I enjoy a lot of those different games. I just haven't played as many of I haven't played Axis and Allies. I have played Risk. That's basically it. And I played Risk Legacy, and that was fun too. What instrument do you play? I've played guitar a bit, electric guitar and acoustic, and then I was in a band where I just played acoustic guitar and sang. But I tried to make it punk rockish. It was dumb. But then I played bass a lot, and I played bass in several different bands. But then I've also done singing and screaming vocals for bands as well. My last band that I was in, I just did the vocals for, but that was a lot of fun. But you know, it's hard to keep bands together, especially when there's different levels of seriousness within the band, and someone goes off to college, and then you have to find a new person to replace them, and then it's like, okay, now we're just playing and not practicing, and I don't know. I really enjoyed playing music, but it's basically impossible to make it in the music industry unless you have some crazy good luck, you know. I'm going to Minneapolis this week. Later this week is the Fantasy Flight headquarters worth visiting. I mean, I haven't been there. I would love to go, so I would say if you're going there, I would visit it. I know it's just like a big game store with a gigantic event center. Sounds awesome to me. I would go. That's one of the places that I wish that I could go someday, but who knows? I don't know if I'll be in Minneapolis soon, ever. Who knows? Roy, do you plan on reviewing more from the Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff? I would be interested in doing that. It's an interesting game to play because it's actually like a miniatures game, not a board game, and it definitely has like more of that miniatures game complexity. The cool thing about it though is the fact that you can kind of play it solo, and there's like a whole AI deck that helps you, and like dice rolls that let you run the bad guys, so you can play it cooperatively or against like different creatures and things like that, which I think is kind of intriguing and interesting. I'd like to review more of it. I just don't know how much people are interested. So if people want more interesting miniature stuff, let me know, and maybe more of that stuff can happen. But anything that I review is always on top of all the other editing and videos and live shows that I run. So it's hard for me to get reviews done sometimes. It just takes a lot of extra effort. Oh, cool. Yes, quick game description. I would actually, I've been thinking about doing different stuff about game design, but the problem is I don't currently have a published design, so I don't really have any credentials to talk about. So maybe once I have more credibility in the design sphere, I might do more content about game design, because most of the stuff that I've said is just regurgitated from a lot of things that I've heard about game design. I feel like it's very important. There's tons and tons of content out there. And it's interesting, there's a lot of content that used to be out there that isn't out there anymore, like the beginning stages of the Plaid Hat podcast. I listened to a ton of that. They talked about game design. I don't think you can even find the Plaid Hat podcast anymore. But there's like so many things out there that's been talked about as far as game design, and I have a lot of that stuff in my head. But I feel like it's very important as a game designer to like do a lot of research on the subject. Basically anything you want to do in life, like research a ton of it, watch a ton of YouTube videos on it, watch a bunch of podcasts about it, learn about it before you jump into it, so that way you can like learn from other people's mistakes. You can like kind of shortcut like errors you might make on trying to do it on your own, and be very knowledgeable about the thing you're trying to attempt. But it'd be really cool to make more content on that, but I don't know how much of a demand there is for board game design related content, and would that create more board game designers? There's already so many board games out there, you know, who knows? But yeah, let me know if people are interested in board game design content, because that'd be kind of fun to do too. Oh my goodness. What music equipment do you own? Any gyms? I used to have a 810 cab for my bass that I had when I was in North Carolina, and I used that at my church for worship music, but then I left it with them when I moved, because there was no way I'm moving this thing that's like the size of a refrigerator down to Miami into my tiny little condo. So I left that behind. The only thing I still have is basically my electric guitar, and I don't even have an amp for it. I wish I still had more music equipment and stuff. I used to have so many like awesome pedals. I had a Music Man bass, which I loved, and I had a whole bunch of different stuff, but a lot of that has gone by the wayside at this point, mostly for lack of space, and there's no reason to keep expensive music equipment when you're not using it, you know. But yeah, I've had a bunch of cool stuff back in the day. And that's one of the things I'm always super interested in when I see people post pictures of their rig and stuff like that. I'm like, that looks so cool, you know, but it's whatever. Like somebody on my Facebook feed, some random person posted their orange cab or whatever, guitar cab, and I'm like, man, I used to love orange cabs back in the day. They had good stuff. What is your favorite game that can be played on the go, so to say? I feel like a lot of the Tiny Epic games fit in that line. That's kind of like what they're for, I feel like, is the fact that they're small. Like if you had like, say you're going to the beach and you weren't going to bring a whole bunch of board games, but you might end up playing a game. A lot of those games fit that niche. Like my favorites are Tiny Epic Quest and Tiny Epic Galaxies. But if I want to play like a tactical game, me and Mike just reviewed Tiny Epic Tactics. That would be a lot of fun to play as well. And then beyond that, like I really enjoy, I still like Love Letter. I know Love Letter gets a lot of flack for them coming out with tons of different editions. Like I used to take Love Letter or Lost Legacy around with me and play those games with just random people, and it's such a simple game to get into. Also, things like Codenames are great to take like on the go with certain people. I've played Codenames with a bunch of like family members and stuff, and it's always interesting to figure those things out. So those I think are some great games to take on the go. How are Matt and Rob doing? I think they're doing awesome. I need to talk to them because I really want to. I'm not sure how long I should wait, but I'd love to do a reunion show of the podcast at some point, and it'd be awesome to have them come back on and just do an update about how they're doing, what games they've played, what's going on with everybody. But yeah, they're doing awesome, I think, and they were at PAX Unplugged as well, and they were playing all the games there. I get a little bit jealous because I'm always like running around working like crazy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just playing this game, playing that game, playing that game." I'm not that jealous, but it's really cool, and those guys are awesome. So hopefully, Epic Gaming Night reunion show at some point in 2020. Oh man, I feel like I'm super behind on questions. Oh man, and time is flying by. I talk too much. Let's see. I can turn this up even more. The volume is loud now, guys. If it's not loud, I don't know what to say. Let's see. Roy, do you get a new tattoo for every foe you smite? No, that seems like a pretty lame thing. I would have way too many tattoos at that point, right? But yeah, I would love to get more tattoos at some point. It's just you get to a certain point in your life and you're like, they're really expensive, and I got rent and mortgage and kids to take care of and all these other things. But yeah, I got most of my tattoos probably back before I was even married. So I haven't got a tattoo in quite a long time, but maybe someday I'll get more. Who knows? Let's see. I don't know the answer to that. Do you have any hidden gems to suggest to a space dogfight game fan? So, I don't know. I mean, there's X-Wing out there. X-Wing was okay for me. There was a lot of like missing on die rolls. I guess there's a lot of things, but that's not hidden at all. I wonder what'd be good for like a hidden space one. I played the Battlestar Galactica dogfight space game, but I didn't like that even as much as X-Wing. I thought it was interesting, but the whole like damage system where you're randomly drawing damage and somebody gets 0 damage and someone else gets like 8 was kind of annoying because the swing was very strange in the damage scale for that. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like X-Wing is like dominating that space for space dogfights right now, and there is a massive amount of X-Wing out there. So I don't know if there's any hidden gems or not. Maybe somebody in chat can let you know. Okay, Roy, I'm trying to get Bad Lore 2nd Edition, but I want to play it 4 players, and only have 3 armies. So what I've done to play 4 players is I just use 2 armies, and you're not really supposed to, like, it's a 2-player game. Like, Bad Lore 2nd Edition is a 2-player game, so you can't really play it more players unless you fudge the rules, basically. But what I've done is I've had like 2 copies of the core set and basically used the armies from both those copies of the core set, put 2 boards out, and play like epic Bad Lore, basically using a lot of the epic Bad Lore rules from 1st edition. You can actually find, I think, the 1st edition epic Bad Lore rules online, and I kind of like homebrewed a whole epic Bad Lore thing. We actually played it at the retreat. Me and Sam were like the commanders of each of our side, and we each had 3 people, so we actually technically played Bad Lore 8 players. But yeah, me and Sam were the commanders, so we would choose which command card to play, and then we would give the number of activations to each of our players. Like, they would be like, all right, this flank or this side gets 3, the middle gets 2, and this side gets 1. I give out the command counters to each person. Then each of those commanders would decide who to activate, but then me and Sam would also control the magic cards or the lore cards that could be played. So we've played that way, but it was mostly just using 1 army type for this side and 1 army type for that side. I wish they would come out with elves, and I feel like elves were actually designed for the game, but I seriously doubt at this point that Fantasy Flight's going to come out with that. I really wish they would, because they kind of dumped Bad Lore 2nd Edition for Rune Wars, which, even though Rune Wars was an awesome game, they also dumped Rune Wars, so whatever. 10 years? He must have started when he was 10. I think I started when I was like, I don't know when I started. When I was like 19, something like that. But yeah, I worked at Target for quite a while. Quite a while. Also, I'm 33, so I'm not that young. Do you have any insider information if there will be another large Ziya expansion? I was talking to the guys from Far Off Games at PAX Unplugged, so no, I don't have any insider information, but I was talking to them about how I love Ziya and there needs to be more for Ziya and all that stuff, and they are, I think, this was like one of their first big conventions they'd have ever gone to, and I feel like it has reignited maybe some of their passion for Ziya and the excitement around Ziya. I think they said they sold out of all the copies of Ziya they bought, and I feel like they keep selling out of it. It's like, make more, you know? And the designer was like, yeah, I'm afraid of people like with these expansions having to feel like they're obligated to buy into it and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm like, dude, fans of your game are gonna want to buy more for the game because they really enjoy it. But maybe we'll see something in the works. I don't have any insider information. I did do a ton of playtesting on the first expansion for that, but I haven't seen anything come out about any more currently, and if I had, I wouldn't be able to talk about it, but I haven't. So let's see. Did you remember to get your wife Dairy Queen Blizzard the night the Kickstarter countdown? Well, it's lame because Dairy Queen closes at 11, so yes, I tried to go to Dairy Queen, but it was already closed and the Kickstarter ended at 12. But I did get her Dairy Queen like the next day, so, you know. I can't like break in. I should have like broken into the Dairy Queen and been like, how do I run this machine, and just made one, but I figured that would not be a good way to live my life. Let's see here. Do you prefer cooperative or competitive games? I don't know that I necessarily prefer one over the other. I really, really enjoy both. Honestly, I really enjoy cooperative games for like that whole casual thing. I love working together in games. It harkens back to like all the role-playing games I played and working together in those. And cooperative games are really what helped bring me into the board gaming hobby, because I'm like, board games can do this. You can work together. That's kind of like playing a role-playing game on a team, like going out and adventuring. And playing Battlestar Galactica just changed so much. I sold all my Magic cards and was like, board games, let's do this. But yeah, I really enjoy Cooperative, but I also enjoy, like, a lot of my favorite games out there are competitive games as well. But a lot of the games that are my favorite games still have that aspect of negotiation and figuring out things with the players around the table where everyone's still involved. I really am not a huge fan of the like multiplayer solo games where everybody's kind of doing their own thing and you're not interacting at all and you're all doing your little resource management and getting victory points. When I play a game with people, like, I want to play the game with the people. Like, and it's interesting when for good or worse, you can affect the other people around you. And honestly, even the games that are competitive that I like, there's an aspect of figuring out how to do a little bit of cooperation within the game. Like in Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, like maybe sometimes I'm like, hey man, you should do this action, and I'll do this action. We'll help each other out a little bit, or oh man, and trying to talk people into like, oh man, we need to stop this person because they're winning. We need to like not let them get a hold of all this stuff. That's terrible. That aspect of it, even though it ends up turning and then next turn they're attacking me, I find that enjoyable too. I don't know, I like the aspects of playing a game together, like coming around the table and playing something where we're all interacting, we're all looking at each other face to face, we're all learning more about each other, and I feel like that's one of the best parts of board gaming. So yes, both. I don't really have one that I like more than the other, but I like both. I think he loves crushing opponents. No, not really. I don't like try to rub that in anyone's face or anything like that. I do find it interesting, like trying to figure out ways to make different objectives or different things that need to happen in games. And sometimes that happens to involve crushing opponents, but I like working together with opponents just as much as crushing them. But yeah, it's fun. Board games are fun. Do you have any additional information on upcoming expansions for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea? Nope. Let's see. What else is there? Okay, cool. People are saying the volume's now better now. Yeah, I'm using Ecamm so I can make these comments pop up, but apparently I needed to have the volume up a lot higher than I did, and it's hard for me to test that, seeing that I'm in here by myself. Let's see. Lots and lots of questions. Oh man, I'm super far behind. Your haircut looks nice. I did it myself. Mike DeLisio doesn't believe that I actually cut my hair myself, but I showed him what I used to do it, and he still doesn't believe me. I think he believes me. He's just like, that saves a lot of money. Are you guys going to the UK Con? I guess you're asking about the UK Gaming Expo. I'm not sure. I know for sure that Tom and Z are going. Tom mentioned to me and Mike, hey, I'd like to take you to the UK Games Expo, but I'm not 100% sure that I'm going. I would love to go to UKGE. I've never actually been to a convention outside of the States. I've never actually been outside the States except on the Dice Tower cruises, which was the first one was last year. We went to Jamaica, and that was just like a port or like a little port thing at a resort there. It's not really like actually going to an actual place, but it's technically outside of the US. I've never been like overseas at all or anything, so it would be really cool to have an opportunity to do that. And I've heard that people in UK like war games and Ameritrash, so that would be pretty exciting. And it'd be really cool to see people that in content over there. It'd be really awesome to interact with people that I haven't met yet, but have already been consuming my content. That would be a ton of fun. But who knows? But Tom and Z should definitely be going, and maybe me and Mike. Who knows? We'll see. Roy probably most jives with my tastes from the Dice Tower gang. Keep it real, Kabuki. Okay. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Do you back a lot of games on Kickstarter? So before, I didn't back a whole lot of games on Kickstarter, mostly because it was financially prohibitive. I would normally get games as like Christmas presents or birthday presents, and I would do a lot of trading on Board Game Geek to try to get games, even though shipping is really expensive. But it's just like I didn't have a whole lot of funds to be spending on a lot of different board games. So a lot of these Kickstarters were really expensive, so I'd normally try to back like maybe one a year. I know I backed like Rising Sun, like immediately. I was like, Rising Sun, gotta get it. I haven't backed a whole lot. I backed like the expansion for Ziya and stuff like that. But there isn't like a whole lot of Kickstarters that I have backed. And now it's even less so because I'm at the Dice Tower, and normally if we're not getting it sent for review copy, we're normally getting it sent for it to go into the library. Or Tom will normally buy it to go to the library, and I have a little bit of access to these games. It's not 100%, but like if I really, really wanted to play a game when it comes out, I could figure out a way to make that happen. And it's probably going to be in the Dice Tower library anyway. I'm going to have access to the Dice Tower library, so I don't back a ton of Kickstarters. But I feel like I'm definitely going to back Ankh when it comes out, the third game in the trilogy of Eric Lang's games with Blood Rage, Rising Sun, which I enjoy both of those. I definitely want to try the Egyptian one, so that's one I'm on board for. I was interested in this Marvel game. I was like, man, I should back that. But then I saw it, and I'm like, I'm going to get more Marvel Champion stuff. So that's neither here nor there, but I'm sure that game will be great, and maybe I'll end up backing it, but I know it'll probably come into the studio anyway, so maybe I won't. Who knows? Let's see. Ever house rule a game? What is your favorite house rule? I've house ruled several games. Like in Ziya, before the expansion came out, it could be pretty broken if a trade route appeared right beside each other. That was fixed in the expansion, but before, when that would happen, before the game would even start, I would be like, okay, if this happens in the game, you're not allowed to do that over and over again. You have to get your next fame point from a different way. You can't just go here, buy stuff, drop it off, go here, buy stuff, drop it off. Now they fix that because they have a board that has cubes that run out, and a planet will actually run out of resources if you keep trying to buy from it. So it's very much fixed. And that house rule, I mean, I talked about my giant house rule for Battlelore 2nd Edition, where we played the epic game. I mean, that's technically not in 2nd Edition at all, but I kind of made that up. In Carcassonne, we always draw a tile when it's not our turn, so you kind of like are able to place tiles faster, so that makes the game a little bit faster. We haven't played Carcassonne in quite a while. But then, what else has house rules in it? I think I used to do a little bit of house ruling with Twilight Imperium 3, just to make the game a little bit faster. There were artifacts that you could put out, and I think I would use those. I think those were slightly different. Like I would just make it where like these planets in the middle were worth extra victory points as long as you control them. That might have actually been a regular rule. I'm not quite sure. But we've also done things like house rules in Twilight Imperium where you get a certain number of resources and you can bet at the beginning of the round which planet you start at. Or maybe which alien race you have, and you spin trade goods for that. It's sort of like a house rule too. But I think that was adopted from a friend's house rule of the game. But yeah, there was just several small things that I don't always necessarily use, but I have used in random games. I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I used to be a DM in Dungeons & Dragons for a long time. It's more about crafting the experience and making the experience for everyone at the table better, and the fact that I like to think that I can mess around with designs a little bit. I don't know. But I don't normally house rule games. I normally just play them however they're made to be played. Oh, I do house rule Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. which is my favorite game, which is kind of strange. So the game is supposed to, when one of the in-game triggers is supposed to trigger the end of the game, you're supposed to play an entire another round of the game after that. An entire another round. I don't do that. Like I never, like I don't at all. Normally, when the game end triggers, that's the round that it ends. So that way, I mean, there's a little bit more of a chance for people to be maybe a little bit more caught off guard. If you're kind of paying attention, you're not really going to be caught off guard anyway. But it makes the game a little bit shorter, and it just always felt like when you play an entire other round, that whole last round, everybody's just trying to min-max as much as possible, and the game slows down. Like, that last round takes as long as like half the game. Not really, but I told the publisher and the designer that I play it that way, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And when we played it the normal way, and I'm just like, this last round takes forever. But it's just because everybody's like, oh, it's ending, let me min-max. And normally if you do it the other way, there's like one turn where people are min-maxing instead of 3 turns where people are min-maxing. Kabuki says she's forever in for any new Ziya. Come on, Cody. Make more Ziya. Do it. Okay. Thanks for the awesome reviews. Thanks for watching our awesome reviews. And thanks for sticking around for the Dice Tower stuff. It's really awesome. I'm just skimming through here. Oh, we're pretty much at an hour. Awesome. All right, well, I guess I'm going to start to draw this thing to a close. Let me go down here to the bottom and see if anything crazy needs to come up. Oh, man. People are just still talking about music. Awesome. Well, I guess I'll draw this thing to a close. Thanks, everybody, for joining me for this Q&A. It's been really awesome getting to talk with everybody out there, and it's just fun to answer these questions and let people know a little bit more about us here at the Dice Tower. I know this week Tom's going to have tons more reviews coming up. We're also going to have Liz Davidson in the studio doing top 10 solo games, so that'll be super awesome, and I think she's going to be joined with Z and Mike for that. So the solo game crowd needs to make sure to tune in for that as well. And then we're just going to do all sorts of different content. Me and Tom are going to do a Roy versus Tom, where I think we're playing Dice Masters and the other game we tried to play with the weird like gladiators and stuff like that. So make sure to tune in for that as well. But hopefully you all have an amazing week, and thanks for joining us here at the Dice Tower, and I'll see everybody on the next one. Bye!
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.